The 2020 NFL schedule for all 32 teams is now officially out. What is going on, y'all? Faiz Sports Hall back at it with another video talking, of course, some NFL. Here to talk about the NFL schedule, it being released, and kind of give you guys my thoughts on really the overall picture across the entire NFL, about how the schedule looks like, talk a little bit strength of schedule, and we'll get into the nitty-gritty of all that. Before we do, if you're new to the channel, welcome. Make sure you go and subscribe, folks. Helps me out a lot when you do support the channel, trying to get the word out. So really would appreciate if you guys do support and do that by subscribing and following me on my social media. But with that being said, let's talk about the NFL schedule. I've already given my thoughts on the Bears schedule itself, so you guys can go check it out. I broke down every game on the Bears schedule individually in a separate video. This one, we're going to kind of take a look across the entire NFL and kind of give my thoughts there. Now, just a quick disclaimer. There's obviously uncertainty around, whether or not we're going to have a full 16-game season, whether or not we're going to even have a season, whether or not there's going to be fans in the stadiums. Here's the thing. I can't control that, and I usually don't worry about things I can't control. So until we hear otherwise, I'm not going to worry about it, and we will just, go with the status quo, hoping, crossing our fingers here, that a 16-game season is going to be played. So I just want to put that out there because I know there's a lot of uncertainty with the current climate, and so just wanted to let you know. So let's get started. So I will start with strength of schedule, and right off the bat, let me just talk about, the range here, if you will, with the strength of schedule. It goes from toughest to softest in terms of opponent win percentage, and the New England Patriots have the toughest schedule in the NFL. And it's just so funny that happens when Tom Brady leaves. Now, obviously, this happened because the New England Patriots were a top team last year. And so usually what happens is if you are a top team, you get a harder schedule the next year. That's just how it works. And so the Pats got a harder schedule, and they're going to regress. I'm not as high on the Pats as maybe people are. Obviously, they lose Tom Brady, and Jarrett Stidham is their guy for now. And to me, I am not a big fan of Jarrett Stidham. I am not a believer in Jarrett Stidham. Let's see if he proves me wrong. But I just thought it was interesting that the Patriots have the toughest schedule in the NFL. And then I kind of broke it down with just the middle team because, again, I can't fit all 32 teams here. But I will talk about them. I have them written down here. Colts, right in the middle of the pack. And to me, I think the Colts are going to be a solid team. I'm a believer in the Colts. They signed Phillip Rivers in the offseason. That's a quarterback upgrade. They had a solid draft. They had a solid free agency, well coached, good offensive line, good defense, just an overall solid team. And right now, I think they're my pick to win their division in the AFC South. Okay, and then moving on to the Ravens, who have the easiest schedule in the entire NFL. This doesn't make sense to me. The Ravens were a good team last year. I don't know why they got the easiest schedule, but they did. And so to me, surprise, they're probably going to win their division. Okay, you probably book that right now. So I thought that was just interesting. A couple more tidbits here for you guys. Okay, in terms of the schedule itself, primetime games. Okay, which teams have the most primetime games? And let us start with the obvious teams, the Chiefs. Duh. You want to put the Super Bowl champions and the best quarterback in the NFL on primetime. I get that. The Bucs, Tom Brady and his new weapons, his new toys, a new city, totally makes sense. They both have 5 primetime games. By the way, all these teams I'm listing, they're all tied for having 5 primetime games. So Chiefs and Bucs makes total sense. Packers, fine. I get it. Still got Aaron Rodgers, and the Packers are a historic franchise. Get all that. 49ers, also 5 primetime games. Obviously, they were in the Super Bowl, so understandable. And then you've got the Cowboys, America's team. I get that. And then Ravens, again, another another powerhouse in the NFL this season with Lamar Jackson, the MVP, the reigning MVP. So that makes sense. But there's 2 teams on here that have no business having this many primetime games. And that is the New England Patriots, who have 5 primetime games. I don't know if this schedule was just made before Tom Brady announced his decision, but there's no reason the Patriots should have 5 primetime games after the fact that Tom Brady left the team. Because again, I'm not interested in watching the New England Patriots now with Jared Stidham. I'm sorry, I'm just not. Who else do you have on the roster? I mean, Julian Edelman, that's your best weapon. Sony Michel, James White. I mean, come on now. Like, Stephon Gilmore, I get that, reigning defensive player of the year. The defense is still going to be solid, and it's Bill Belichick, so it's going to be a well-coached team. But they're going to play probably a boring brand of football. And they just won't be very fun to watch. Again, Jared Stidham, could he prove me wrong? Sure, but I'm just not buying it. There is no reason the New England Patriots should have 5 primetime games. Complete waste. I don't want to see them. And the only reason this should have happened, since it did happen, is this was decided before Tom Brady left New England, okay? And the other team are the Rams, okay? The Rams are in LA, and that might be the only reason they get it, because they regressed like crazy last year. And to me, again, you lose Brandon Cooks, Jared Goff regresses, you lose Todd Gurley. I mean, the lust on the Rams just wore off. They're just not the same team to me. There's so many other up-and-coming teams you could have given that slot to instead of giving it to the Rams. Heck, I might have preferred the other LA team in the Chargers. I'd rather see, what Justin Herbert's about. Maybe he can show me something. But I'm not a big fan of how the Rams are trending right now. I like Sean McVay. I love Sean McVay. But the rest of the team can just go. So those are the teams that have primetime games. Let's talk about Sunday Night Football real quick. Some great Sunday Night Football games. Packers versus the Saints, Week 3. Aaron Rodgers versus Drew Brees for arguably the last time ever. Expecting Drew Brees to retire after this season, so that'll be phenomenal. And then we've got Drew Brees versus Tom Brady, Saints versus the Bucks in Week 9. That is going to be phenomenal on Sunday Night Football. Brady versus Brees one last time. And then, of course, Bears-Packers, Week 12. You'll love to see that, the rivalry there. Thanksgiving Day games. You've got Houston Texans at the Detroit Lions. Again, I'm not impressed with the Thanksgiving Day games. You've got the classic Redskins-Cowboys game. I mean, I could care less about both of those teams. I don't think they're going anywhere. Dallas is okay, but the Redskins, again, they'll be better under Ron Rivera, but how much really, okay? And then finally, you got the Ravens and the Steelers. That might be an okay game, but for the most part, I believe the Thanksgiving Day schedule is underwhelming here, so not a huge fan of it. And then opening day, Houston at Kansas City. Deshaun Watson versus Patrick Mahomes. Obviously, Bears fans are going to absolutely dread the opening night game because that's all they're going to talk about is, you know what? I'm not even going to go there, okay? But again, here's my thing. I'm just going down the list here. I'm not that high on the Texans this year. I think they regress. Look, Deshaun Watson's a stud. I get that. But here's the thing with the Texans, okay? You have to understand, just because you plug in pieces doesn't mean the sum of the parts equals the whole, which is DeAndre Hopkins. You try to replace him with Randall Cobb, Brandon Cooks, and you're hoping Will Fuller does the trick as well. But here's the thing: Brandon Cooks is a concussion away from retiring. I'm serious about that. Randall Cobb's like 46 years old, and Will Fuller, literally, if he steps on 1 foot wrong, he absolutely tears up his hammy. Like, it's that bad with the Houston Texans and their receiving core right now. So I'm not a big fan, and you got a washed up, out of shape David Johnson. So forgive me if I'm down on the Texans this year, because I just don't see it. And I didn't even mention Bill O'Brien, who to me is just an absolute abomination. Again, he's not an awful coach per se, but as a GM, he's just bad. But to me, overall, this Houston team, it's just not going to click for me this year. I'm not high on them. I don't think they're in the league with the Kansas City Chiefs. It's two different stratospheres for me. I would much rather have the Ravens play the Chiefs. That would have been better for me. Maybe even a Super Bowl rematch with the 49ers. I wouldn't have minded that, or the Packers, or somebody. I'm sorry, the Houston Texans, I think they're going to regress, okay? Couple other notes here. Teams that I think do regress here based off of the strength of schedule, folks. Let me just say the AFC East as a brutal schedule. Pats number 1 in strength of schedule. Jets number 2. Dolphins number 3. Oh boy, that division is going to be brutal. That might be the new NFC East, where 7 or 8 wins you the division, because that is going to be awful. Then I've already mentioned the Texans here. 49ers have the 4th hardest schedule. I do believe they regress as well. That division is just way too tough with the Seattle Seahawks, who I'm high on now, with the Arizona Cardinals, who made a big improvement in the offseason to the roster. And then the Rams, again, I just bashed the Rams, but again, they are still competent. I just don't want to see them on primetime. Okay, that's all I'm saying. So now I think the 49ers regress. I mentioned the Texans regressing. Not a fan of the Rams. The Seahawks, I believe they do improve. They have a middle-of-the-road schedule. Same thing with the Colts, who have a middle-of-the-road schedule. The Bucs, middle-of-the-road. Panthers, 19th in strength of schedule. I do think they improve. And then the NFC East. Boy, did they get a break. Eagles, 25th in strength of schedule. Giants, 26th. Redskins, 28th. And the Cowboys, 30th. Okay? The NFC East just got a cakewalk with their schedule. So they might actually have a division winner who wins 10 games this year, okay? Again, I'm not sure who's going to win that division right now. I'm leaning Philly. Could be the Cowboys. I'll make my pick. And then the other thing I want to point out is the AFC North as well. Got a big break. I already mentioned the Ravens. Easiest schedule in the NFL in terms of strength of schedule. Steelers right beside them, 31. Then you got the Browns at 29. Folks, this division could have 3 potential playoff teams. And remember, there is an extra playoff spot this year. Don't forget that. So yes, you can have 3 teams come out of the same division for the playoffs. So just a quick thing to note there, the AFC North got an absolute cakewalk, so did the NFC East. And the last thing I will say in regards to the NFC North, the divisions, all 3 teams and the Bears as well, have pretty brutal schedules, folks. The Packers schedule is brutal. I mean, my goodness. You thought the Bears schedule was bad. Bears schedule is pretty bad, 13th in strength schedule. And somehow the Packers have the 15th strength of schedule. But I looked at their schedule, and you guys can go look at it as well. It is brutal. It's brutal, folks. I mean, it's just an absolute torturous schedule for the Green Bay Packers. The Lions have a tough schedule, 6th in strength schedule as well, and the Minnesota Vikings at 10. So the NFC North, they've got a pretty tough schedule. So that, again, is something to keep an eye on. But overall, those are my thoughts on the NFL schedule, and then the Sunday night games, Thanksgiving Day games, and the opening day games, and just a couple of teams that I thought, again, it regressed or I believe will improve. Now, I will have my full NFL predictions. I'm going to have that video out fairly soon, so you guys are going to want to stay tuned for that, where I give you guys my entire predictions for every single team, which team will win the division, which team will make the playoffs. So stay tuned for that. You guys can turn on my post notifications to be notified when I drop that video. But for now, I just want some football. Please give me football this year and give me all 16 games, folks. I don't ask for a lot, but when I do, I kind of want it. So there you have, folks. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up. Please make sure to subscribe. And as always, thanks for watching.